Good afternoon or evening, everyone, wherever you're at listening to this. My name is Tammy Lynn Connors. This is my YouTube channel and podcast, Helping Other People Evolve. Today, I have Brady on here. Hi, Brady. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm great. I know you said that you're in Florida.
I am. Yes. I raised my children in New Jersey, but have since moved to Florida.
Okay. How long have you been in Florida?
I have been here about a year.
Okay.
It's been good for my mental health.
Oh, good. Good. Hey, mental health is priority in life.
Yeah.
We learned that, unfortunately, the hard way. But
Uh,
I did ask you about the hurricane, and you said that you didn't even have a
no, not by us. Not
Good.
by, yeah.
Very fortunate. So
Yeah.
a
Yes.
lot of people out there with that hurricane. I know I've been praying for a lot of cities. So yeah. So anyways, you guys, just in case you don't know what H.O.P.E is, it's like I said, helping other people evolve. And I started this mission and vision back in 2021. And the reason I started it is because I feel like there's so many people that are at home and they feel like they're all alone in their struggles. Everyone that's been on my podcast and including myself have been through struggles. And, we still aren't at a peak of life, but we're still getting through those struggles and doing the best we can day by day to get through. And also, hearing someone else's story might be the story that you hear, maybe Brady's story today, that you'll just get up and get out of bed and know that you can make it through your day today. I'm a big one on, if you can just get through today, then just get through today, and just tomorrow's a new day, and so that's a big priority in my life. I came across Brady on TikTok, which I came across a lot of people on there. Brady, it's pretty amazing to me. For one thing, God just kind of plugs me into the people. But when I message someone and they're willing to share their story to help you have a platform, but also to help other people, to try to relate and understand. So I came across Brady's video, and it was your video when you were talking. And you were telling a story, and then at the end you said who the story was about. I kind of got the gist of it as I was listening, who it was, but so I do always tell everybody here that you're my friend now. So it's like you're stuck with me now as a friend. But if you want, and your son's name,
Jack.
Jack. Okay, yeah, Jack. So if you kind of want to talk a little bit about, who Jack was and how things went, and and then we'll discuss a little bit, how you're dealing with life now.
Yeah, sure. So Jack is my son. I lost him when he was 19 years old. He was literally 1 month shy of his 20th birthday. And it's a day I don't wish upon anyone, but the reason why I speak in those videos is because I do believe that my son was put here for a reason, and that reason is to save the lives of other children. And what I mean by that is I'm just hoping to educate other kids or other parents to the reality of the fentanyl epidemic. I will, wholeheartedly admit my son did struggle with anxiety and depression, and he was a mental health advocate. I really think that those kids who struggle with mental health issues have a higher propensity to use drugs. But that being said, my son went to a party and he had texted me literally that he was going to sleep there. It wasn't safe to drive home. We said our I love yous, and that was it. And what I learned is that he had taken what he thought was a percocet, and that one tiny little pill was laced with fentanyl, and my son never woke up. Now, this was 4 years ago, and I had heard of fentanyl, but fast forward 4 years, and now it's so sad and even disgusting to say, everyone seems to know someone.
Yes.
Who has either lost a loved one or it astounds me how many of me's there are.
Right.
It's heartbreaking, and I am just, trying to use my voice, or even my son's voice, even though he's no longer here, to impact the lives of others. I can't wrap my head around his passing at 19 if there wasn't a greater purpose.
Right. Yes, I agree with that. You know, I do talk about that a lot too, just in general of our purpose here on earth, right? Like we all have a purpose here. And when I feel like when our purpose or when our time is done, God is going to take us back home because to me, and everybody that listens to my podcast knows I'm a big believer, but I believe that we're all a gift here. And when we, whatever our purpose is, then we go, but our voice is still supposed to be heard.
Mhm.
I think, and you sharing that is, I think, huge. And as I've lost a son and a bonus son. My baby was 6.5 months old, and my bonus son was, I try to think, it was in 1992. So he was 25 or 26 in a single car drinking and driving accident.
So sorry.
And I thank you for that. And I remember his mom, Nicholas passed away in February, and then like a little served gravesite, like in May, you know, when the ground wasn't frozen because he had been cremated. But I remember her saying this. I want you to see, let me know if this relates to you too. She said, "My biggest fear is that people will forget him. So please say his name." So I don't know if that's something that you feel too, or
Um, I I have a hard time watching his friends go on in life, and he had so many friends,
right?
and I know they will never forget him, but I definitely don't hear from them as much as I did
Yeah,
in the beginning, and it part of that makes me really sad, but I understand these kids have lives and their job isn't to comfort me, and they suffered, such a traumatic um, experience at such a young age, and I really feel so sad for them. But I miss that a little bit,
yeah.
uh, hearing from them as much as I used to. So I guess, yeah, deep down, I don't want him to be forgotten as well.
Yeah. And that's why I think also like it's important to share his story, you know, it's and especially you mentioned mental health and especially in men. I'm a big advocate for mental health in men, and it's probably because I'm a 34-year-old son, and I just believe that women, we talk more about things than
Yeah.
do about men talk. Let me tell you, they definitely talk. I work at a golf course, and the other day our leagues were there, and there was like 8 of them sitting there. And I went to the table to grab some drinks or something, and I was like, "Man, they are just a gossiping away over there."
Yeah, so funny.
But I don't think they talk much mental health, and I think that just really needs to be advocated more. You know?
What's so interesting is that my son was so incredibly transparent about his mental health.
Okay.
And he had started this brand called Happy Jack, and my son used art as a means of therapy. So he basically came to me and said, if I can help one kid not feel the way I feel, then I want to create a company where like I could give back. So he started using his designs and putting them on apparel, and then he would sell the apparel, and he started actually in his fraternity house of his dorm room, and within a week of sales he donated $1,000 to the Child Mind Institute. And
That
like I didn't know anything about the Child Mind Institute that he had researched. I saw it on a Instagram post that he made, and my son gave me the strength and taught me transparency, and I feel, and I got emotional, but if my son at 19 years old can come forward and say, I struggle with anxiety and bouts of depression, and this is how I deal with it, I have to be able to do that.
is, yes.
I have to, and I don't think I know I didn't have the strength to do it before.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if you know who Trent Shelton is or not.
Mm-mm.
Speaker, and he's very big on relationships, and just he's a very good motivational speaker. I'll say he was when he was young, his best friend committed suicide, and he said he will never let anybody's mental health go unknown. And
Yeah.
he does say something that you just said, and your son probably be a great example of it, is your transparency could lead to someone else's transformation.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and it's so true. I didn't really share my story of struggles, for a long time. I've been sober
Yeah.
for years and I didn't share that a lot. And
Yeah.
friends were like, you have a gift. You're still here. You can't keep it to yourself, and for your son to start that Happy Jack, that's awesome. Now,
Yeah.
are you continuing that or can you
Yes. The website is called Happy Jack's World,
okay?
and he started it literally a month before he passed.
Mhm.
And, I would took me a very long time to get out of bed, and his friends kept the business running until his father and I had the strength to get up and continue doing what he was doing. And I just, I was and am that type of mother who would do anything for their child. And many people would say it's not the right thing, that you should put yourself first, but I never did. I just, it's not part of my makeup. And I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I still believe that I would do anything for Jack, still, even though he's not here.
Right, right. So I think continuing in his company is doing that for him.
Yes, that's why I feel like, someone had asked me, how did you decide to continue his company, his brand? And it wasn't never a decision.
Right. Yeah.
It was just, this is what we're gonna do.
Hmm. Now, Brady, do you have any other children?
I do, thank God. I have a daughter who, she's the best. I wake up for her, I live for her. She's in college and I'm strong for her. And she's a remarkable human being. And she was incredibly close with her brother. And, she was 17 and she was a senior in high school, and it's supposed to be her best year and applying to colleges. And
Yeah.
uh, I want to take her pain away,
Mhm.
and I can't. And she wants to take my pain away, and she can't.
Right.
We're incredibly close, and I adore her. She's just such a good girl.
Awesome. Now, does she live in Florida too?
She actually is in college. She goes to University of Indiana, which is scary in itself, right? Because all
Right.
of these kids are experimenting. She lost her own brother. She's very fully aware, but I'm still scared.
Sure.
I'm
Sure.
still scared. I'm still scared if she doesn't answer the phone. You deal with that, such a traumatic thing in your life. I go to places in my head that, she's not answering the phone, she's laying under a truck, or she's locked in someone's room, or I'm, even my mother called and I'm like, what? So what's wrong?
Hey,
It's terrible, but I suppose when you have something that you can never in a million years imagine happening to you, then you start realizing that anything is possible.
right. I agree. Now, had you always done that though? Like, had scenarios go in your head if you couldn't get a hold of your kids? I'm just curious for you, my sake.
More for my son and
Uh-huh.
not my daughter. And because Jack was a fearless individual and
Right.
he lived life on the edge, and he drove fast and he smoked weed and he
Right.
jumped off cliffs and he snowboarded, and I don't think he would have lived his life any other way.
Right.
Because he lived his life that way, I worried like it was a full-time job.
Yeah. Yeah. I do that with my son, and probably the same thing, right? I lost a baby 6.5 months old. Chad was 3. And oh my gosh, I could come up with some of the craziest
Yeah,
scenarios. Be like, Mom. I'm like,
I
I'm
know.
same thing though. I'd have him on the side of the road in a ditch. And
Uh,
I was like, he's like, stop.
it's amazing what we do to ourselves.
That is really true, that what we do to ourselves. And that's a big thing, because I talk about that a lot too. Like, our mind, of course, we can either control it or it can control us. And it in a spiral of out of control,
Right, crazy. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. And so that's never any fun. So, I mean, so when you talked about the Percocet, my best friend in 2020, he had been in recovery for I always misquote, I think 5.5 years or 6 years. And it's the same thing. He took a Percocet from somebody off the street, and it ended up the same thing. It was fentanyl, and we lost him on Valentine's Day. And his mom, Donna, I've interviewed her actually, and her and I are really close, and she has, well, she has a lot of kids and grandkids and great grandkids, but it's that emptiness, that little hole that never heals. And I always say this, for the grieving part of it, and to you too, because 4 years, people are like, well, unfortunately, people are like, well, it's been 4 years, right? They don't get it, and thank God they don't have to get it. But that grieving, I tell people, man, we have to grieve. And earlier when you said you're having a good day today, right? Today was a good day. And we have good days, but we have the days that aren't so good either. And
Yeah.
that on those days, we need to give ourselves grace,
Mm.
and it's okay. It's okay to have a day. What's not okay is to have day after day after day. I think that we have to figure out what kind of tools we can use, whether it's going and talking to someone, or going and talking to our child we lost, or our best friend, or whoever that.
I talk to Jack like in my head all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah,
I'm always like looking for signs, and I do believe in that.
yeah. Do you
And
from him, just out of curiosity?
you know what I do, and I think like if you see me, you'd be like, that's the crazy lady that talks to yellow butterflies.
No.
Because I am somehow convinced that my son is a yellow butterfly, and when I see them, my face lights up.
Yeah.
He's visiting me. So
I talk about the signs a lot to people, because that's something that I don't know what people think or believe, but I believe that we get signs from our angels, whatever you want to call them, the spirit angels or whatever, because there's so many instances in my life that the people that were so close to me, they show up like that. So
yeah.
my mom was passing away in 2020. I went and I spoke to her right before she passed. She was in hospice, and I whispered in her ear, I said, Mom, I'm petrified of birds. And they always say people visit as a cardinal. So please visit me as a butterfly. That's exactly what I said to her. And we left hospice, and it was during COVID and stuff. But so the nurse was like, she's not going to pass with you here. She's like, you're going to have to go. Your time's up, basically, is what kind of she told me. But I knew I had to leave. And my sister and I got home, and I swear she called me and she said she just passed peacefully, and a monarch butterfly flew right by us. And to that, right then, I knew, like, yeah, these signs are so real, And I think I tell people, like, if you don't pay attention, you're not going to see them, right?
Yeah.
Like, that he's a yellow butterfly. That's his sign that, Mom, I'm here.
Did you read that awesome book by Laura Lynn Jackson?
No.
Okay, so it's just called Signs.
Okay.
But someone bought it for me shortly after my son passed, and I held on to it. It was almost like a life raft when what do you call those things? Life when you throw someone a life preserver.
Right.
I felt like it was that, and it made me believe. And I started talking to mediums, and over the course of the past few years, there's just some things that people would never, ever, ever know.
Yeah.
And again, that helps me in my grieving process.
Sure.
So, but I would definitely tell anyone to read it, even if they take one little piece of hope or
Yeah.
from it. But I really like her books. So
Well, it's called Signs.
It's called Signs, and her name is Laura Lynn Jackson.
Okay, I'll have to look that up and order it. I'm all about that. So
yeah, good one. It's a good one.
And they just show up, like Toby Mac will come on the radio, and it's, my gosh, all the time. Like, just the different signs like that.
Yeah.
A little bit, because I wanted to talk about when you said you would do anything for your kids, and probably when people say you need to look out for you and not first, right? I want to share something, because throughout my recovery journey, okay, everybody always says, they're not going to quit drinking until they're ready for themselves. And that's kind of the stigma that's out there about it, right? And when I quit drinking, I quit for my son. So I'm just saying this because, like, with our kids, that's why I quit. You know, my dad died when he was young at 34 and drowned in our bathtub, and I found him. My mom and I found him. And I was so sick when I was at the end of my drinking career, I didn't really care about me. I cared about my son finding me like that. And so when people say, well, you got to worry about you and, you know, your kid, and they get on you about worrying so much or doing so much for your kids, I think that's false. I 100% don't agree with it. And someone on here might not agree with me, but that's okay, because my son was my rock and my son is my, you know, and like you said with your daughter now, like, you're might be a little overprotective and worry, but that's how you're supposed to be as a mom.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
just, like I said to her, you know, I am and will always be here if you ever need me or you're ever, and she knows that if she's sad and she needs a minute, I'll be on that next flight.
right.
And she knows that because I've done it, and I did it for my son too. He went to University of Denver and his anxiety was really bad, and I on the plane and I got to him that night.
Yeah. And that's it. Like, that's what we're supposed to do, I feel, as a parents.
I do too. I do too. But, you know, I'm not in, there was no soothing for that.
So have you went through any grief counseling at all?
So for me, I've come to understand that everybody grieves differently.
Right.
And that what might work for one person does not work for the next.
Yes.
And so many people thought that therapy was just a fix, right? So, like, I mean, even like a family member, they would, after, you know, a therapy session, they would say, like, well, do you feel better? Like, no, I don't freaking feel better. My son is not here.
Right.
And so for me, I went, I got tired of listening to myself. I got tired of crying. And there's no one who could bring my son back. And I don't, do you hear that? My Alexa just went on.
Oh, it did? Okay. Okay.
So, right? So for me, I didn't stick to therapy. It wasn't a consistent thing for me. And, you know, when I went to Facebook and I went into some of these groups, I felt like so many people were drowning and I didn't want to drown with them.
Right.
And for me, I had to just take a breather from it all.
Yeah.
And I haven't gone back to therapy.
Yeah.
Or put myself in a grief group, but I have met some wonderful families through TikTok, through Instagram, and I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Really grateful for that.
Yeah. And I think when you find those core people that they can unfortunately relate, you know, I always say, I never say to anybody, I know how you feel, because I don't know how you feel. Just like you said, your grief is different, right?
Yes, completely.
Yeah. And so everybody's is. And so I never can say to somebody, you know, I know exactly how you're feeling. I would
no.
so I always just say, I mean, I can relate, but I have no idea how you're feeling. You know? And I think that's a big thing that people that fortunately haven't went through anything traumatic like that. I mean, thank God they haven't, but people, they just don't know what to say. You know, I talk about this a lot because my one friend Lou, he lost his daughter. Actually, I met him on TikTok and he shared a story. She did, I think it was some cocaine and it was laced with fentanyl. And you know, we were brought about the awareness too, but he said people say the dumbest things. They're just dumb. And I said
they do.
they do, but
they mean well. They do mean well.
They do. And that's why I said in their defense, they just don't know what to say.
Yeah.
People just don't know. You know, you look at the mom and the dad and the sister, and that, you know, they're hurt so bad and you want to say something, but you should just say nothing. Just
you know that sometimes when people learn about my situation, I find myself like consoling them
Right. Right.
because they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And they're so like taken aback. And I'm like, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like a total role reversal.
Right. Right. Which is, and you probably are helping them then, to kind of relate. I should have looked up some statistics, but I don't usually do that. But when you were talking about like in 2020, before Jack passed, like you didn't really hear much about the fentanyl. You really didn't hear much about the fentanyl.
No, I mean, I like heard of it, but then when we got the results back and I found out, and there was no alcohol in his system, just some weed and this stupid little pill. And I've come to understand that it's only takes 2 milligrams,
Hmm.
which is literally equivalent to grains of sand. I've learned much about this. And it fits on the tip of a pencil, the amount that's lethal. And that is really hard to understand,
Yeah.
that amount of a substance can take your child
Right.
from you. I mean, it's just so deadly.
Yes. So deadly. And just that, like you said, that itty bitty bit. And so
Yeah.
when I talk to people in general, like, hey, anybody that's doing anything out there, I don't care what it is anymore, you have got to, I don't know how you do it, test it, whatever you got to do, but there's so much fentanyl in everything because before,
Yeah.
mostly I heard about it in heroin most of the time. And then all of a sudden it was Percocet, and then it was cocaine, and then it
Yeah.
was,
Now it's even in Adderall, Xanax. I mean, I just people that I have met along the way, there's no accepting anything unless it's from your own doctor. But
right,
you mentioned the fentanyl testing, and it does exist, and they make these fentanyl test strips, but the user has to dissolve the entire thing in water. So
yeah,
can they do it? Of course. Are they going to? I am not convinced that they're going to dissolve a pill in water, use a dipstick,
right,
and then if it's negative, then drink the liquid. It's 7 out of 10 pills now. And I say, like, if you knew you had a 70% chance of not waking up,
yeah,
would you take it? Would you take it?
yeah, yeah. Wow, I didn't know that that's what it was. 7 out of 10. That's crazy, crazy.
7 out of 10 pills seized by the DEA contained an illicit amount of fentanyl, a lethal amount of fentanyl, excuse me.
Wow, jeez. Yeah, it's just insane to me. Sad. It's sad that it's like that. And like you said, would you take that chance of not waking up? And
I mean, that's really the reality of it. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I had that child who never thought anything was going to happen to him. And I
right,
know there are a lot of other kids like him.
yeah,
And he told me I worried too much, and rightly so. But that's why I'm like, look at my son's face. He was just like your kids. He was not, under a tunnel in a homeless camp. Like, this was a kid who had a ton of friends and was into sports and so happy. And yes, he struggled with mental health, but
but he was aware of it.
he was aware of it.
Yeah,
He was aware of it.
yeah,
And if I wanted to take that pain away from him so badly, and people say, like, well, why did he take a Percocet? Well, I wasn't there
right,
to know. I can't give you the answer, but if I were to venture a guess, I would say that he was dealing with anxiety. He took it at the end of the night because he texted me at almost 12 a.m. So he had to have taken it after that.
yeah,
So sometime between then and the morning, he didn't
right,
wake up. So
right.
I believe and I think that he perhaps took it to go to sleep.
Go to sleep. That's what I would think. Yeah, sure. I mean, and that's when those questions arrive from people, it's like, I promise you, he didn't know that that was going to kill him, or he would,
No, of course not.
right? And so,
Especially in 2020, like you just,
no, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's unfortunate that people ask those kind of questions. I
they
mean,
do,
they do. And
they do.
yeah,
They want to know where he got it from. Was the person held accountable? I don't know where he got it.
right, right.
It's not going to change my outcome. And people put their energy there, and I respect that. And they want justice, and they're so angry. But I'm tired. I'm
Yeah.
emotionally tired and spent from missing him so much that I don't have that fight in me.
No, no, no. I think what you're doing with sharing his story, and TikTok, I think, is an amazing platform for people because it really lets us be able to share, and people are watching and listening there too. That's what I see. And for you to be able to get on there and share his story is bringing light to Jack for sure, and just bringing light to other people. Like you said, it's not so. My stepdad used to think that the alcoholic was the bum underneath the bridge, or on the corner of the street. And not that your son was an addict, but at the same time, I mean, I was an alcoholic and I worked all the time. I was a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah.
People don't realize how many people out there experiment a little bit, or people are using on a regular basis, but they
And still functioning.
still functioning because they just keep normal. And then they take that one time and, that's it. And especially young age, like with you, with Jack, and parties and things like that. That's where,
Yeah.
colleges and stuff, they need to have people like you, unfortunately, come speak. Like,
I'm happy to.
yeah, because and maybe it wouldn't be 25 kids that heard you, but maybe it's that one kid, that could be saved,
Well, that goes, hearing you say that goes back to, my son's comment that, if I could help one person, and I've sort of held on to that. If I could save one life,
Yes.
and sometimes I wonder, did my son have to lose his life in order
Yeah.
to save others?
Well, you're doing a great job of helping, honestly.
Yeah.
And as I can say, I can relate. It's hard. It's very hard.
So-
That I feel as a parent, when we lose children, our grief will never end. That hole will always be in our heart, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I know it's been 32, my son would have been 32 this year in May. And I still, some days are good, some days are really hard.
Yeah.
And
It's very physical.
yes.
It's like I try and explain it like it's a physical, like, pulling
Mhm.
for me. Like I feel a pull in my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that pull in your heart is when he's tugging on your heart, just saying, "Mom, I'm tugging your heartstrings. I love what you're doing for me,
Yeah.
and for other people." And then comes the little yellow butterfly, or Alexa turns on.
I mean, that was the weirdest thing.
I mean,
It was like a rap song too. And I
does he listen
listened
to
to
rap
it.
songs too?
What?
Did he listen to rap songs? Oh my goodness. See, that was, yeah, I mean, that's it. Things like that, you know. Well, that was his moment of saying, "Hey mom, I'm proud of you for sharing this." That's what I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate you getting on here with me. I appreciate you your story and Jack's story, and like I said, since I watched your video, I say a prayer for you every day.
I love that. Thank you. I'll take all the prayers I can get.
Oh, exactly. I'm sure all you can get. And like you said, today's a good day, and I pray that tomorrow is too,
Yeah.
And
I moved to Florida because for me it was too hard to stay where I was,
right.
and to be in the town that I raised him in, and to pass the high school, and to pass every store had a story, every field had a game, and
Yeah,
every store I went even into, and I used to see people, and I couldn't do it anymore. And
Yeah.
I feel like I could breathe here.
Good, good. Now, let's just talk about that real quick, because that was definitely all your mental health that you had to protect. And,
Yeah,
and I think that that's important. That's so important. I'm like I said, I'm a big advocate for mental health for all of us. I live here in Toledo. Well, I lived here for a long time. And then when my mom passed away, I moved to Arizona because I was out of this town, didn't want to be here anymore.
yeah.
I ended up coming back because
Mhm.
a good friend of mine said, "Hey, the casino's hiring for $10,000 sign-on bonus and all this good stuff," right? And I was like, "Oh, I don't want to go back to Toledo." And he was like, "Come on, Tam, you'll work with me." And we had worked together years ago. So I came back, and I worked for 1 year is all I had to stay. In that 1 year, I would have had to pay the bonus back. I almost walked out 5 times. Like, I'll pay
Wow.
money back. So I ended up quitting last year in June because of my mental health was suffering. And
Yeah.
that I said, people were like, "Well, you don't have a job right now." And I'm like, "I can go waitress, bartend, anything. But
Yeah.
I'll work 80 hours a week before I ruin my mental health." And
Yeah.
people need to realize how important that is, because if this goes mentally,
Yeah.
who are we helping? Nobody, not even ourselves. And
Yeah.
I'm very happy that you made that choice and did that, because I think for that's huge for you, and probably really,
Yeah.
you know.
It, my daughter is still in New Jersey, so, but she's at school most of the year, so she does come to Florida in bits, but
Oh,
I just miss her.
yeah, she's still in the same town too then? Is she? Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, she's not home, or, these past 3, 4 years, she's a senior now, hasn't been in New Jersey all that much, and this past summer, I went to New Jersey for 3 months just to be with her.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I said to her, I'll always find you, it doesn't matter where I am.
Good, good.
So,
That's huge. So,
yeah.
well, is there anything you want to say to anybody before we wrap this up, Brady?
For me, it's just one day, one moment at a time. And I personally can't handle more than that. And I think that's okay.
Hmm.
I think that's okay. If someone wants to make a plan with me, even next week, I can't, it's too much for me.
Right.
I never know how I'm gonna feel, or I just, I just do today. And that works for me. So that works for anyone else.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people in life and should always just take it like that too.
Yeah,
Minute by minute, hour by hour, however we got to get through it. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Now, now we can order from Jack's World or Jack's
Yeah, it's called Happy Jack World.
Jack World. I was almost right. That's
Yeah,
jackworld.com or
yeah. happyjackworld.com. And then we have since also added a foundation in his honor. But, I want people to know that it was Jack who created that business,
yes.
for kids that struggle with mental health, and that we didn't create that business in his honor. We obviously added a foundation to it, but there is a donate button also on the site if no one wants to make a purchase and they want to make a small donation. But whatever it is, I'll keep trying.
Yeah. Well, when I post this, I will definitely put the link on there for people, so
Thank you so much.
get his name out there and what he's doing for children, with mental health, especially nowadays with social media and everything like that. These
Yeah.
kids are really suffering. So,
Well,
well,
you are a wonderful human being, and I appreciate you.
thank you so much. You are an amazing woman too. Just so you know, I keep doing what you're doing. It's amazing.
Thank you.
You
Thank you.
you brighten days. You might not feel like it, but you really do. And and just sharing him, that makes us feel like we kind of knew him. So I think it's pretty cool. So
Trying my best.
you're doing great. So thanks.
Thank you.
I just want to thank everybody for getting on Hope. We have the YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Audible. like, subscribe, share. You know, I'm sure there's people out there that need to hear this story. So if you know anyone, you know, share it out to them. And Brady, thank you again. I hope has an amazing day, night, whatever time it is that you're listening.
Thank you.
And know that you don't struggle alone, you know,
No,
alone in your struggles. And however, we got to get through, like you said, day by day, minute by minute. But if you can just stand up and just take a breath
yeah,
and get through it. So once again, thank you so much, Brady. I appreciate
thank
it.
you. Okay, take care.
You too. Bye bye.